M0FXB, welcome back to my Mazzy dog walks. We're on the usual hill. It's actually called the Lynch, this hill. And I've explained before that it faces, well, if you look this way in front of me, it's actually facing down south, goes past Exeter, and then across the channel to France. And if we go this way to the left, that goes to London. And then if you kept going, you go to Germany and Russia and all that part of Europe. If you go behind me, then you're going south, okay? And that's going to take you to Scotland. So it's actually for radio, and I always forget to bring a radio up here. It's the perfect position for VHF, UHF. So you think about line of sight, and whenever you hear that, just think of a piece of string. You're up high, and if there's over there's a hill. If someone was on there with a radio, here, even on a rubber duck, they're going to hear me because there's nothing in the way and the signal's going to travel. Just imagine electricity just flying through the air, it goes straight there. Now there's another way of looking at it. If you think about CB, yeah, on say 27,600 megs, you can have line of sight. Mazzy, come, you can have line of sight, but the interesting thing about that size wave, 27 megahertz, it is affected by the conditions, the ionosphere. That's why back in the day when everyone was getting AMCBs, you could hear America booming through, because those conditions would sorry, there's a lot of people here, would bounce those waves off the ionosphere and they would come straight back down from USA to the UK and other parts, and Spain, of course. I mean, we hear the Spain, and of course I know they run Spain. I don't know, many strong signals from Spain. So now with a HF radio, that's what, say we're using a 66-foot length of wire. I tend to use a 49:1 balun. Yeah, that's different because you've got this giant wave, and it's wobbling its way up. And it all depends on the conditions. Part of the wave goes into the ground. That's when, But anyway, it wobbles its way, and depending on the conditions, and they are changeable, and there are charts that you can view live to let you know which parts of the world are propagating to other parts of the world. So at a certain time of the day, you might have a good wave or good ionosphere taking the signal from USA to America and other parts of the world, of course, and different bands and different frequencies. They have a completely different effect. If you're on 14 megs, 7 megs, 80 megs, 21 megs, and so on, 15 meters, and so on. So there's a real science to it, but you can't beat getting up on a hill when it comes to VHF and UHF. 6 meters is a bit of both as well. And another one is you grab your radio, your QRP radio, something like the X6-100, put it on the beach on a table with a length of wire. Mazzy, come. And you've got the biggest ground plane you've ever have, haven't you? You've got the whole sea. And so you're going to do well there as well. And you'll find all the parks on the air and summits as well. They're all taking advantage of different kinds of conditions, and it is very varied and experimental, and that's why it's such a fantastic hobby, where you can you can buy these days. If you look at these Radtels that are coming out, like the 920 Badgerton, all that, £25, because you don't have to transmit, and you're listening to the world. Again, remember what I said about the conditions. And so this is why it's fantastic hobby. Somebody busy here today. So anyway, just thought I'd chuck that in. You don't have to be an expert on antennas. What I would do is, let's just say you've decided, right, I want to communicate to America. Do your homework on that, on the kind of antenna. And I always think you can't beat a long wire. Of course, you've got these directional antennas, beam antennas, but that's going to involve a lot of money, where you could buy a length of garden wire for £1 from the DIY shop, and you could turn that into a worldwide antenna as long as you learn about the conditions and how to put the antenna up. Just remember, it's connected by coax. Well, coax isn't a balanced feeder, so what that means is that because you've got the center core, which is, say, thin, as you know, then you've got the braid that goes around the outside of the coax. Well, they're not the same. Yeah, they're not the same sort of resistance, let's call it. So because of that, well, Mazzy's found a ball like she always does. So because of that, yeah, it needs to be balanced out, and people use tuners. But this is why people use the 49-to-1. They call them ununs, actually. I just say the word balun always, but they call them ununs, and that is because the way the wave travels along the coax, the feeder, there's a certain pattern, and that pattern has to be a balanced pattern to get, and please educate me more on this, otherwise you get a mismatch. Then the antenna is going to be a bad SWR, and then it's going to come back up to the radio, which is bad for the radio, and so on and so on. So do your homework on the bands and the countries you want to communicate and the power level you're going to use, and let me know. Bye for now.